When I first got in the Air Force in 1951, January, I went, they sent me to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. And so everybody was trying to keep from going to Korea. So it was wintertime in January. Everybody, people died, pneumonia, because we stayed in tents. It was just so crowded at Lackland. You know, you may eat breakfast at 2 o'clock in the morning and eat supper at 3:30. You know, we stayed in tents and we didn't have no heat. And it was miserable cold. Anyway, so when I finally transferred out of there, they wanted me to go to military police school, which the Air Force didn't have one. So they sent me to Camp Gordon, which is Augusta, Georgia, to go through Army military police school. Well, to be the first Air Force group to go through that, those Army sergeants and stuff gave us pure devil. They didn't take no mercy on us because we were Air Force and Army was the people. We had to march. It was a mess. You know, had to go through infiltration camp. I guess infantry, combat, whatever. But they had barbed wire and you had to slide on your stomach and they shot over your head and stuff like that. Anyway, so I left there and I went to Savannah, Georgia as an air policeman at that time. And our primary source was guarding nuclear bombs. The bombs themselves, you know, they didn't have the insides, just the outside. And of course they scared us to death. The Russians are going to get you and all this other crap. And then they extended the runway and they went through a cemetery. Well, we had to go out there. They dug up where supposedly the graves, isolated from nothing. And they had a little few trees around us. So us that got that night duty there, they'd drop us off in a Jeep and come back 4 hours later and pick us up. We'd sit up in a tree. We scared a ghost. Anyway, so I hated that air police business. And I found a captain that was a neighbor back in North Carolina. He was in one of the bomb squadrons. And I told him, and he got me transferred out of the air police, and I went as a mechanic on B-50s airplanes. And they had both B-50s and B-29s. Well, I love that. I absolutely adore it, but I didn't have, hadn't been to mechanic school or nothing like that. Anyway, so they had a mission with the B-50s that they had to go to Smyrna, Kansas. I believe that was the name of it, at Topeka. And they'd fly missions out of there, but if they needed fuel, they'd have to go to Oklahoma City to get the fuel that a B-50 took. B-29 they had, but that wasn't the right fuel. So there was about 5 of us, we weren't going to be there 4 or 5 days. So they flew mission. We had the whole one-piece fatigue, just enough to last us 4 or 5 days. We went to Topeka and spent all our money the first night they were there, probably. Anyway, so the flight crew went on a mission and they had a problem with the B-50. So they readied back in. They were going back to Hunter Air Force Base, Savannah, Georgia. Well, there we were stuck in Topeka with no money, just nothing, And so they wouldn't give us plane tickets. The transportation people at that base wouldn't. They gave plane tickets. They gave us train tickets. We didn't have no money. And it'd take forever to go from Kansas to Savannah, Georgia. Well, they gave us tickets to to train. We got on the train. No food. We'd have no food. And so if the train was stopped, we'd all disintegrate and go out and buy and steal nabs and cookies, whatever we could have, and get back on the train. Well, bless the porters from the dining car, because they'd go to the dining cars and tell the tale, and the people would give us their meal tickets. Of course, we were so nasty we couldn't, and the porters would bring us the food out where we were. And so we finally made it back to Savannah. Nasty, filthy, dirty. We didn't sleep in no sleeping tower. No, heck no. And it took forever to get back to Savannah, Georgia, and Hunter Air Force Base. Anyway, I got to finish telling the tale about me being a MP, or secure air police. So I made 2 stripes. We had a staff sergeant that went AWOL, and they picked him up somewhere around Sumter, South Carolina, which is Shaw Air Force Base. So you had what they call a prison chase. You had to go get him. They had to go get him. And there were supposed to be 2 guys to go get him, because you couldn't handcuff him to the seat because Air Force regulations. If the plane crashed, a train crash or whatever, so you had to stay away. One of you did. Anyway, I was supposed to leave on Saturday to catch a train from Savannah, Georgia to Sumter. Well, they knew that I was 130 miles from my home, but they wouldn't let me leave on Wednesday. Said, no, you got to wait and go on the train. I said, well, what if I fund myself to go? Can I do that and then meet on Sumter on Sunday, pick him up and bring him back to Savannah? Yeah, you can do that. So I had my little briefcase thing and had my armband that said AP or MP or whatever it was. Had my .45 pistol and pistol belt in the briefcase, because I'd have to wear it when I picked him up. So I didn't have no money, so I started hitchhiking. And a man picked me up, and he had to stop at a drugstore. Well, before he did, I opened my briefcase up to get a pack of cigarettes out, and he at that time saw that pistol. He didn't come back. All of a sudden, here come two policemen out. He had saw that pistol, and he turned me into the police department. Concealed weapon, whatever. And I was a gangster or something, It scared him, so he went and got the police, and they took me down to the police station, and I showed them my my armband. I showed them that I copied my orders, and they finally realized that I was legitimate. So I went home, North Carolina, Fayetteville, and I caught a train back to Sumter, Shaw Air Force Base, to pick the prisoner up. My partner didn't show. I was by myself. He told me when I picked him up, he said, I'm going to get away from you. I ain't going back to Hunter Air Force Base in Savannah. I ain't going on you. So that meant I had to stay awake the whole time, because my partner didn't show up. So every time he'd go to sleep, I'd punch him, wake him up. So I want him so sleepy that he'd go to sleep and snore, and I could nap or something. And I had the porter to let me know, I told him the situation. And he'd watch him, and he'd let me know. So I finally made it back to Hunter Air Force Base turned him in, got him signed for, and he went to the guardhouse, wherever he went. And I went to the barracks, and I bet I slept for 24 hours after that.
Yeah.
We had,
Wait.